Njagalayo okuba esimu yawe eri ku Facebook mbe nga nsoma buterekwanya ku bibuuzo by'abantu. Eno teyina. Njagalayo okuba n'essimu yawe eri ku Facebook. Eh? A very good evening to all Ugandans in Uganda here and abroad. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, serving Ugandans across the entire country, and those ones actually who are attending the show from abroad. A very good morning to those ones actually in countries like the US, those ones who are in Virginia, Massachusetts, Maryland, Washington. A very good morning to you, and a very good evening to those ones like in Sweden, Switzerland, those ones that we are ahead 1 hour. A very good evening to Ugandan. It's a pleasure actually having you tonight, taking a deep perspective on a macro and a micro economics on our country and how it is supposed to be actually run. By names of Chris, and I am with my partner, Dr. Bale Benjamino, is with us tonight. I have had classes where actually I have had shows where some guys have been asking for him. He is here with us. We are so much delighted to have him on the show. Dr. Bale, you must welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm greatly honored.
Yeah, it is indeed an honor to have someone of your caliber, to have someone of your stature having a show with us. He's been with Logical Motivators for as long as I know its existence, and he's been serving honestly and diligently.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we are here to dissect and put into perspective the great recessions and depressions that we have had in the 19th, 20th, and the 21st century, and exactly what we have been doing in terms of microeconomics and macroeconomics. So we're going to put all that into perspective and why the need for an investor to actually understand the reasons as to why, as an investor, why you should be interested in knowing the macro and microeconomics of your country. When we were looking at this topic, we got in so many criticisms from our dear investors, and they were like, we are not economists. Why are you supposed actually to give us the perspective in terms of macro and micro? And we're like, you're supposed to understand a business from its independence entity, and you as well, you're supposed to understand the government, how it operates towards some of these businesses. So we are here to dissect and digest some of those myths that are surrounding businesses, and we are supposed to give you a way forward on how your businesses are supposed to be run in a crisis. I'll invite my partner, my mentor, somebody I look up to as an economist to probably maybe serve this country in a bigger capacity. I welcome you, Dr. Bale, once again.
Thank you.
I want to let the entire world know that I'm proud of you.
Maybe
Most of these ones actually they don't know that you've been mentoring me for the last, I don't know, 20, close to 18, 17 years.
Almost that.
So we're proud of you. Logical is proud of you, and our dear investors are proud of you. So
thank you.
I welcome you once again. Say hello to the viewer.
Our viewers are extremely happy to be here this evening, this morning. We are talking about evening and morning, and perhaps afternoon, just depending on the time zones. I would like to appreciate all our viewers, all of those who are listening to us on our podcasts, and each and every person who is there supporting Logical Motivators in one way or another. Chris, there's something I wanted also to thank you about. I met you in some 3 years ago when my life was struggling financially. And coincidentally, or incidentally, uh, I was highly indebted. My kind of economic status was almost in a financial quagmire and a financial crisis. I was struggling financially. And when I met you, you asked me one thing, which helped transform my life. You asked me what was my net worth. You know, net worth has to be the difference between assets that you have or hold minus the liabilities.
Which is your net book value.
By that time, my kind of net worth was worthless because I was almost having nothing. And I had it has just been 2008 kind of financial crisis. It had affected me greatly. I had started a business and it had failed. I had a lot of problems in my life. But then when you asked me what was my net worth, I ended up recognizing that my net worth was worth nothing. And it was worthless. Then you told me that in at least 5 years, you wanted me to hold the net worth, which is around 5 billion. And then I ended up laughing at myself and making a lot of pictures. Someone who was struggling financially, how can you go ahead to tell him that he should be having something like 5 billion net worth at one point in time? And that, however, ended up changing my life in one way or the other. I started to readjust my life, to throw away the negativity that had consumed and entered my life, to throw away the fear, to start reorganizing my life. I had to reset, I had to restart, and then I had not to give up on myself, and I decided to move on. And by the way, as I'm talking now, my net worth has slightly increased. So because by now I'm almost oscillating $1 billion. Because nowadays I'm investing in real estate. The companies are moving on well. And are you a prophet or a seer?
I'm a prophet, but I'm not a prophet of doom.
Not a prophet of doom. I thank you for very much. However, when you were kind of introducing, or the lesson which I've learned, perhaps, is that your network is also equaling to your network. How many people do you know? I'm pleased to be knowing you, to have known you, and even the people in our network. We have several other people out there who are within our network. Have Mr. Henry Lyombia,
our dear brother, he's in Canada.
He's in Canada. Then we have Francis Dembe Semogerere, Wilson Mukama, Nasasira, Wakuma Samuel, Ambrose Kanhao, Felix Sinsibirwa, Aida Nanyonjo, Kwago Kirimuntu. Then we have Jacob Sempala, Chris Bridge. He's one of our
Chris, my namesake, he's been an Advent supporter. Actually, he's been supporting all our shows right from my posts on Facebook, because I normally crop out that stuff that I think that could maybe somehow, somewhere help my investors, and he's been typing there. So I want to make also a shout out to the following. I want to make a shout out to Pabera Namara. She's actually our partner. I want also to mention Madam Mrs. Virungi of Milis International Kawempe, but she resides actually in the US. I want also to make a mention of Madam Doreen. She's in Canada. Then there is also my dear brother George. He's in Washington. No, he's actually in USA. There is also another brother of mine. He's in UK. And all these other guys actually who support us from South Korea, North Korea, and across the entire globe.
Yeah, the northern Gumisirisa, Namato
That one
Rashida.
it was my hobby.
I don't know because what I'm so sure, Rob, is that I've just been seeing him so seriously following us, almost commenting on everything. And do you know, Chris, that if your network is not changing, you have to change your network.
Yeah, true.
Because by the time
Mm.
I met you,
Mm.
the type of people I was kind of communicating with, sharing with, they were those kind of people who would not develop me,
Okay.
who were not what. So I'm so happy that I ended up
We
coming
crossed paths.
yeah.
So,
Thank you very much.
one of the instances, actually, one of the shows that I did with Wolokso Extra Ibrahim Mukasa,
Yeah.
I was sharing some content about that in order for you to make the money, you must know some people, you must like them, or you can actually reverse it. People must know you, people must like you, and people must trust you. If they don't like you, they don't know you, they don't trust you.
They will not invest with you. They will not trust you with their money.
Yeah, they can't obviously trust you with
So
their money.
I'm so happy that the logical motivators is having an interplay of the network, which is worthwhile. People who spend their data right now to listen to us. Thank you for organizing.
You're welcome, brother. So, shout out to Chris Bridge, namesake and Tusekwendinho. We're having Kagoya Shamim, Alex Masava. Thanks for opening up our eyes. Bosco is there with your propaganda. So, and so many other guys. So, there is Stephen Sempa. Shout out to you, my brother. Sise Eni Rukenge, Sendagire, and others. Please keep on sharing this information such that we can have a deep discussion about both a micro and a macro perspective on depressions and recessions stroke crises. When we're developing actually this discussion, we thought about a lot of things. But of course, we put into perspective different crises together, like the crisis of 1930.
Yeah.
For those of us who were not there, but we have been able to plant ourselves into history, we well know that in 1930 there was a very, actually it was a great depression.
Economic depression. You know, Chris, our people need to know that the world of business is not so much straight. There is a time when we are in the boom, when things are okay.
When economic activity is actually
the best.
Yeah.
However, it can never remain there, whether you like it or not. A good investor must know that. And if you are not a good investor, you think that every day will be Christmas Day.
Yeah.
But obviously it won't.
Yeah, it won't.
However, we end up having a what we call a recession. Things keep on going down. Then from down, as they are sloping, they may not be as such bad. But then they go down into what we call a depression.
Yeah.
And that economic depression is the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
In fact, within our generation, we have seen around two of them. The one which you talked about in 1929 up 1930s there. Then another one which has just erupted in 2008 up to 2010.
Yeah.
Then those ones are the most pressing ones that have done what. However, we cannot remain in the depression forever. We have to go back now to the inclination. It's like now climbing the hill to come back online.
Yeah.
And that is a recovery. Then when we recover, we go back to the boom.
To the boom session.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I and my partner and I, we're going to be looking at economics as you know, it is very important actually for investors to be understanding the economics of the countries that they hope to invest. So economics is divided into two categories: microeconomics and macro. Micro is going to be looking at individuals and business decisions. Then the macro bit is going to be looking at different countries and their respective governments, how they respond actually back to some of these recessions. So, Dr. Bal, I want to invite you and take us through what really an economic depression is, or what we call a financial crisis.
Thank you very much, my brother. You know, what I remember so much is that me and you, we are Christian.
Yeah.
Although I don't know whether you're practicing Christian.
Yes, I am.
But if you are, then that's okay. And for me, people tend to call me a philosopher because I'm a free thinker.
Yeah.
And free thinkers always respect every religion. I'm born a Christian, but respecting the rest of the religion. And now, however, in the Bible, we are taught about Noah. Noah, when he was kind of building his ark, he did not start. And I'm telling you, he did not start building the ark on the day when it started raining.
Yeah.
He had to first prepare even before it started raining.
Yeah.
Then, when it started raining, he had already built his ark. But many of our brothers, many of our friends out there always tend to wait for the storm, wait for the rain to start, and then they start building their ark. However, there is always the rain which is happening in our lives. And that rain may be a crisis. A crisis is a time of intense difficulty and danger. And that time of intense difficulty and danger, everyone must experience it at one point in time. Even if you're a son of a president, even if you are a president, even if you are our own, like our good Bobby Wine, or any other person, he has to face a crisis in life. However, the greatest question of the day is that you must know that the tough times of a crisis can never last, but the tough people do last forever.
Yeah, true.
And however, in businesses, we tend to have what we call a business crisis. And a business crisis occurs when an unexpected problem puts the stability of your business into a crisis or a risk. You may have a problem happening all of a sudden, and your business end up collapsing.
Yeah.
And then, however, if your business gets a crisis, then the one for Bale also gets a crisis. The one for Rickman, our IT specialist, gets one. The one for Alex also gets one. So that correction of very many crises taking place tend to bring in what we call a sharp deterioration in the economic state within the country. And that deterioration, the decline in production, the violation of the existing production relations, the bankruptcy of the enterprises, the rising unemployment create what we call an economic crisis, which we call generally we call it an economic depression. So we have the very many forms of what? Of crisis, especially in the small business. For example, we have a financial crisis. And the financial crisis is when a business or the business loses value in the assets. And then it cannot afford to pay its debts. Chris, when you phoned me, I was undergoing a financial crisis in my life and business.
Yeah.
The assets which I had were not in position to pay off the debts that I was having.
Maybe to put more light on that, people might think that finding you was more like me being lucky or you being lucky meeting me.
Yeah.
It was more like actually renewing the
Renewing the
that was
friendship.
already
Exactly.
existing. Yeah.
And then it was also by the fact that we met and then we decided to talk at one hotel. Now, apart from that, businesses, we have what we call personal crisis. And personal crisis occur when an employee in your business who is associated with your business end up in what we would call unethical misconduct. That one brings in what we call personal crisis. You are having an employee, he ends up perhaps being so corrupt, he swindles the funds. That brings in what we call a personal crisis. Then we have what we call an organizational crisis, where the company is wronging its own customers.
Okay.
You have a tour and travel company,
Mm.
then you end up annoying your tourists.
Mm.
Then you're having an entertainment. What you abuse maybe the people who are coming to support you.
Yeah.
That brings in an organizational crisis.
Mm.
We also have a technological crisis,
Mm.
and you know, my brother Chris, me and you know that our economy
Mm.
is run by technology today.
Yeah.
We are right here to have the IT expert.
Mm.
But in case we end up not following the technology properly,
Mm.
our kind of business may crash.
Yeah.
Then we may also have what we call a confrontational crisis.
Mm.
And this is where maybe your employees fight.
Mm.
It is queer to hear that the people who are employed, let's say, to any company, like logical motivators, are pulling blows, fighting. And that alone brings in what we would call the confrontational crisis. Then we have what we call workplace violence and crisis. And this one may happen when the former employee commits violence against those people who are already working in your company. That one may also create a problem. And lastly, we may have what we call crisis of malice.
Okay.
Crisis of malice happen when your competitor comes ahead and then try to destabilize your business. He may even give in some of your employees some money. They spy on you, and as they are spying on you, we do what? So if we are to get an interplay of what we call those ones, they create what we call business crisis.
Yeah.
And these ones are daily. You, our brothers, our sisters, our friends who are watching, these are among the things which tend to lead to a business crisis. And when we accumulate many of these, they may even lead to a depression.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So thank you so much, my brother, Dr. Bale. That was some good, and it was a bit elaborative of what a crisis is. Maybe for my young brothers that have just heard about a depression, the one that is so recent in their minds is the one of 2008 and 2009 and then 2010. Maybe to put some more light about it, in 20, actually this one started way back. I think it started way back during the reign of Bill Clinton when he was still president. You know, some Africans are somewhere excited when they hear about someone balancing their budget. As an economist, actually, I'm one of those proponents of deficit budgets. I don't normally like it when a country balances its budget, because balancing the budget simply means that whatever that you're getting out of, whatever you're getting in terms of taxes, it's basically what you're putting back into the economy. So economists take this back to during the reign of Bill Clinton, simply because he balanced the economy, meaning that he had some money saved for the treasury, and he didn't spend this money. Yeah, so 2008 and other scholars put it to two companies: Lehman Brothers, that was a bank that ventured into securities that were buying up mortgages, sub and prime mortgages, and ended up bundling them into one that actually implemented into a crisis. And others actually blame it on AIG. It was also an insurance company that bought off some of these prime mortgages. That's why actually some people call it mortgage crisis of 2008, so which Obama inherited, and good enough, God willing, he was able to overcome it. So I want us to put...
Before you go ahead, you've properly highlighted the causes of the 2008 economic crisis. But this brings us to another, to have a kind of a slight glance at the 1930 economic depression. That one started with what we call a Wall Street crash. And by that time, just as you may go, our viewers may go to any of the markets maybe to purchase any product, we have the markets for what we would call bonds, treasury bills,
And equities or shares or stock.
We call them financial assets.
Mm.
For US, the place where they go to purchase them is Wall Street.
Mm.
But people over kind of speculated many things. And as they were busy speculating, they made mistakes that ended up leading to the Wall Street crash. And that alone ended up creating problems. And then, by the way, there are the so-called advisors who may also lead into people into problems. There is one of economists at the time was called Says. Says misled the world by that time. He told them that supply creates its own demand. You produce as much as possible. Wherever people see what you have produced, they will have to go
and buy.
But now there was overproduction, overstocking, and the agricultural produce were so much in saturation, and all of these ones ended up creating problems. It took another kind of economist who tried to redress it. That was Lord Keynes, who ended up saying no. From today onwards, we must know that it should be demand creating the supply.
Yeah.
So you let the people first demand a commodity, then you see how much is worth putting to the market, and then
you're able to produce.
You produce that instead of leading to overproduction. So the Wall Street crash, then the overproduction, and even the mismanagement of the financial markets ended up leading to the first Great Economic Depression.
Thank you so much for the light that has been shed actually on 1930 depression, which I believe, by the way, if you're an investor, it's mostly important that you get yourself quenched with some of this information, because investing, it is not a one-time gig or activity. You're supposed to look at different actors. You're supposed to look at different. If you want to put history into perspective, then you can't invest wisely.
And then we also say that history repeats
itself. Yeah, I heard there is a speech that I listened to. It was coming from one of the most prestigious investors, Warren Buffett, and was saying that the reasons actually as to why he put his money into Coca-Cola, because it had a fat and a fertile history. Yeah, so we wanted to give some of mostly when you talk about crises or economic depressions or economic recessions, there are three things normally that are brought out to light. One is fear, two is uncertainty, and three is doubt. People will always fear what is coming, and people are always uncertain of what might happen actually, or what may happen, and others are doubtful of what is the government actually are going to be doing in terms of financial instruments and in terms of interest rates, in terms of fiscal and monetary policies. So FAD has been a policy used by other politicians. Actually, personally, I call it's an instrument used by opposition parties to scare away people. Recently, there is someone actually I was saying he was trying to coerce or convince Ugandans to turn away from the banking system. I don't think that he understood what he was doing, but I wanted to sound a message of warning to him that leading people to become unbanked, it might as well create
a crisis
at the same time. Because when people withdraw money from their banks, from their bank accounts, it definitely creates a crisis, indefinitely. Yeah, so I wanted us to put a rationale for the financial crises. What are some of the things that, before we come actually to COVID-19, I wanted us to first put some light. What are the expectations? Why would we need a crisis, first of all? Because we could be looking at a crisis in terms of like, when a crisis comes, it taxes our peace, it destabilizes our businesses, and it destabilizes our economies. But do we hope to see anything good from some of these crises?
Thank you very much, Chris. there is a popular saying which says that every cloud has a silver lining. There is nothing like anything which is not having a positive part in it. And as we have said, we find out that a good investor must learn to invest in each and every financial, let's say, business cycle level. A good investor must know how to invest and profit from a boom. A good investor must know how to profit from a recession, then from a depression, and then during recovery, and when it is to the boom once again. But the greatest dilemma which lies in people is only to think in only one way and in only one side. For me, I tend to want so much to invest now. Having learned from the 2008 economic recession and depression by that time, I learned so much that it is very important to keep your money such that when it comes to the time of recession, you are instead investing in assets which other people are just giving away at a giveaway price. Like right now, people are in COVID-19, but for me, I'm busy investing in real estate.
But when it comes to real estate, maybe you need to be specific. People might think you're also building Kisengedi.
No, not necessarily. I buy land. I buy land. After buying land, I ensure that I properly grade it. After grading it,
you slide it into
I slide it into pieces. People come and buy. Real estate is a very big industry. There are those people who are buying houses and selling them. There are those who are doing what we call building houses and they sell them. There are those ones who are in the brokerage services. For me, I'm just an investor. I buy land, then I sell. And as people are busy, shrewdly, timidly, not investing. For me, I'm investing in land because I know
you're using Warren Buffett's policy of always being greedy when others are fearful, and then being fearful when others
are greedy. So during a crisis, there are always opportunities. Most of my businesses, by the way, I also invest in the entertainment sector. They so much work and operate during this time. And I sell all the music gadgets and whatsoever. Just during this time, I sell more than I would have because by that time, I'm the only one who is having the stock when others are not having. For me, I have access maybe to use it.
They call it supply bottlenecks.
So, I know how to do what. I may go, I order for my items from Dubai, I put them on market. I end up being among the very few who are having stock. So our greatest perspective here, our viewers should know, is that they should always take advantage of every opportunity which is at hand. There are always very many investment opportunities which are in an economic depression. Perhaps you can add.
Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe rationalizing a financial crisis or a depression, I would say that to some countries like Japan or Korea or China, crisis means an opportunity.
Very true.
An opportunity to advance technology, an opportunity to create. Now, like during this Great Depression that we are into, China is already trying to work on its BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. And actually, it is through this period that China has concentrated so much on its the first of its kind in Africa, in Djibouti. They are putting up a military base. They want to have a base here, and then maybe from there. I don't know whether they are doing neocolonialism or they are trying to. I don't know.
They are thinking wider. As we are busy failing maybe to take up the irreversible steps to build our industries. They are thinking bigger.
Yeah.
And by the way, they are not doing anything different. In 1945, around there, 1920s, after the first economic depression, Herbert Hoover was the president of USA. And however, Herbert created a lot of mistakes in USA. He thought that the economy would just fix itself. And by the way, the economy cannot fix itself.
It can't.
There must be some policies which are very important and worth putting in place. And however, when he moved away, when he after passing over leadership to D. Roosevelt.
Yeah, Frank D. Roosevelt.
Roosevelt did a very good policy. For him, he realized that this was an opportunity to transform America. He started what they called the New Deal. And in the New Deal, he created different laws which were aiming at improving employment, improving social welfare, improving agriculture, and several other acts. And then ensuring that people are employed and giving stimulus packages. However, in our case of Uganda, we've had Nabanja just Nabanja giving somewhat. Is that really a deal? Can I say that is a deal? Is Nabanja's deal? To what extent is Nabanja's deal a deal or a real deal?
You mentioned somebody that I truly love so much. Frank D. Roosevelt, actually, in the U.S. history, is among the actually is the only U.S. president that presided over the country as the president more than 2 times.
Three times.
Okay. When I said more than 2, because they normally take 4. So for him, he was there more than 2 times. So he's the only one. But I believe it was because of his military genius. Because he was
and even the economic kind of strategic thinking, because he brought a team of experts, consultants, and professionals, economists, like you, people of logical motivators, and then he had to create a base to act as a think tank, to come up with the policies which would work. But which think tank came up to think about some of those policies of Myoga and several other things, whether they would work or not work? To what extent is a Myoga really trying to provide a workable answer to the big problems, all the big questions of Uganda? To what extent is Nabanja's amount of money really solving economic problems or trying to create a deal that will have to spearhead Ugandans out of poverty?
Maybe you and me, we need to offer our services to some of these government institutions, and then we are able to come up with a document that can address some of the challenges. But besides actually, and despite the fact that we are having some challenges to do with COVID-19, I want to understand that a crisis sometimes means an opportunity. We saw this during the 1935 invasion of Japan from the Allied forces led by the US, and we saw the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which was a double trouble from the little man, the little boy, and then the big man, which led actually to very many deaths, close to 200,000 people. Then we're also saying that crisis creates unity, togetherness. We have seen actually this happening during COVID-19. We even saw this during the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis. Why am I saying so? AIG was competing against Lehman Brothers because they were all investment. The other one was an insurance company, but this one was an investment bank. But at times, issues came to their necks and they had to sit down on a round table. Actually, I've just been told that Lehman Brothers, they are still working out on the details, the ins and outs of insolvency, because it has not yet been put to rest, because it went into bankruptcy and it couldn't be revitalized as they had hoped. So these crises actually create unity. They also, when you're in a crisis, for example, you're unemployed, you're jobless, or for example, you're looking for love, you tend to be empathetic to those people that are around you. And also crises, they bring us back to spirituality.
Right.
I don't know whether you've seen someone suffering from a chronic disease, cancer, lung cancer, stomach cancer, those ones. People tend to be more
We
spiritual.
go back to God.
We go back to God. So in one or the other, God uses some of these crises to bring us back to Him,
And even to test
to
our
reinstate
faith.
His sovereignty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand that some people who will be like, oh no, crises, we can only see the bad stuff. But actually, it is through some of these crises that we have seen billionaires. Are you aware that the US billionaires, they have added 1.3 trillion
Yeah.
trillion dollars to their past
Just within this particular time.
just within this
The
crisis?
Elon Musk,
The Jeff Bezos
Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and
this guy of Beno Ano
yeah.
from France.
And even the one for China, the one who has just disappeared.
Jack Ma.
Jack Ma. His wealth also had to increase.
Mm.
However, as you have said,
Mm.
the question is, to what extent can you leverage?
Mm.
Can you make use of the financial crisis to kickstart your financial status to greatness?
Mm.
It is true people have lost. However, some of these companies, these countries like Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, we were at the same level of development in 1960, 1950. But for them, they knew what to do. They decided to organize themselves. Companies like Samsung, LG, and several others emerged in just out of the blue within South Korea. Then they ended up being blessed. The question is, where are our companies?
Can I assume our companies and our government, we simply being reactionary? We are just reacting to the crisis.
Yeah.
But we do not have formidable policies in place actually to catapult us into development and into economic
and
growth.
even supporting the local investor. Let's look at Samsung. Samsung is in position, just one company is in position to employ almost all the people who are working in Kampala setting. It is providing housing, medication, education-related things, and several others. The question is, what should our government do to support the local investor also, to those emerging companies? That is the same story with Japan. Japan has come up with ways how it can support those Hyundai,
the
Toyotas, Suzuki, and whatsoever.
Mitsubishi.
Because wherever we just support these foreign investors, wherever they come here, they tend to repatriate, they take away all the profits to their mother countries. Then they leave us as beggars. So perhaps we are asking our government to now revise its policy about the foreign investors. Also to know that this is small investor, the small scale investor, the medium scale investor or business need a great support. Yes.
So I thank you, Dr. Bali, so much. I want to take our viewers back to the 4 phases of crisis management. Now, we are into COVID-19 pandemic, and I want us to, we are all aware that we have been trying to mitigate, and we have been trying to prepare, we have been trying to look for the responses, and we have been trying to kind of look for some of the recoveries. And then the stages of a crisis, we have the pre-crisis, those days when COVID-19 was just beginning to surface. Then we have that acute, when you're in the middle of the crisis. Then we are having the chronicle, that one where you're trying to clean up the lockdowns, and then you're trying to put some measures. And then we are having the crisis resolution, which is the post-crisis, now where reforms are supposed to be coming in. And then We have looked at the 1930 Great Depression. We have also looked at the post.
But before you go ahead, brother,
Mm,
there is the human psychology has the way how it is running.
mm,
Wherever there is a problem of a crisis,
mm,
they first get shocked.
mm,
And after getting shocked, they kind of don't know what is next.
mm,
They even go to an extent of being denying.
mm,
They deny the situation,
mm,
appear as though a problem is not there.
mm,
Then, at that time of denial, they even blame.
mm.
They blame the government. They blame the opposition. They
Mm.
blame those ones in the government.
The blame game comes into play.
They comes into play.
Mm.
Then from there, they you may reach in under what we would call acceptance. But before even acceptance, there is a stage of bargaining.
Mm.
You may even bargain with God. Please, God,
Mm.
we kindly ask you to take away this COVID thing.
Mm.
But when you have to do something,
Actually, I was told you cannot pray. You cannot pray out a crisis.
Yeah.
You really can't.
you can't.
Though I am from the Christian proclivity, I believe in Christianity so much. I am a believer, but sometimes, if Israel, the country that houses the Jews and the Jews and the those people who are they called the from the Judaic community.
Yeah, Judas.
Yes, if Jesus Christ was coming from some of those guys, and for them they are vaccinating their people, and a country like Uganda that is just borrowing Christianity from those countries, for you you're just praying a crisis away.
Yeah.
I think Uganda, we are simply being a big joke.
Very true. So that means that at one level, you must reach what we call acceptance.
Mm.
Wherever you do not accept a problem, you cannot solve it. If you want to solve a problem, you must accept that it is existing. And you also accept that it's your responsibility to solve it. Then from there, you may even go ahead now to take up the solutions. And wherever you come up with the solutions, you move away. So all of those stages, the pre-crisis and then the acute crisis, they bring shock up to the time when you go to acceptance. You accept that it's your responsibility. You also play a part towards solving the problem. So it is our honor. It's the onus is upon us as Ugandans. To know that it is our responsibility to move ourselves as out of the financial crisis, not the government, not the opposition, not the Museveni. Wherever we give our life, our businesses in the hands of the other people, we are not becoming responsible for our own problems and our own life.
Yeah.
And wherever you accept that it is your responsibility, obviously you'll have to solve the problem. Then, as we are also putting pressure on the government, especially at the macro level, to ensure that it changes things.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that we are providing this wise counsel, especially in the locomotivators.
Yeah, true. Now I wanted us to go through some of the characteristics of an economic crisis. And among those things that we might look at, we see that a crisis reduces the amount of personal income for consumers.
Yes.
And we also look at lower personal income levels, usually that reduces the amount of money that is in circulation. We also look at short-term bottlenecks, low levels of demand and low levels of supply. Then high levels of unemployment rates, then low levels of economic activities, high slumps and demand, and shortages in supply. And then we also have people that have zero confidence in financial markets. Maybe to put some more light on some of these Ugandan capital markets, the exchanges that we are having today, currently, we have the Uganda Securities Exchange, whereby you find that people are trying to buy into the system of buying stock and equities from some of these different companies. And then people are also trying to buy treasuries, then bonds, and then they are trying to ensure that they loan out money to the government, which I believe we need to balance off some of these financial assets. Because a country like Uganda, which is actually developing, if you put all your money into real estate,
Yeah.
and by the way, for the information to be disseminated to our viewers, real estate accounts for below 2% in terms of tax collection.
Very true.
Meaning it is an asset class where we put a lot of our resources, but as long as you're involved into a business that doesn't pay taxes, it doesn't affect the government, but it affects you as an investor. Because when you're not paying these taxes to the government, the government has no taxes actually to put back into the economy. Meaning, if the government doesn't have money to put back into the economy, the people that are having disposable income, they cannot have the bargaining power to come and buy your product.
Very true.
So I want to implore Ugandans who are seeing us right now. Paying taxes, it is not to the advantage of the government, but it is to the advantage of the business owner. Whenever you extend some of these funds to the government in form of taxes, it operates a budget that ends up putting this money back into the economy, improving on the disposable income of the consumers, and then they end up supporting your business.
Extreme.
But when you hold some of these funds and money that you get out of your businesses, and you do not want to pay back the economy, you do not want to pay back the taxes, it simply means the people that you're selling your items to, they are not able to have some of these disposable incomes to invest back into your business.
Yeah, Chris, thank you very much for that. But my perspective also has to go at another selfish point of your investment. You, as an investor, you must take advantage of the tax weaknesses and the tax systems. If you study critically, and then you have seen an opportunity where you can enjoy, it is always to you as an advantage. And brother, as you have talked about that, the economic crisis, on a psychological point of view, also have some features or impacts. One, there is always an element of ambiguity or uncertain causes and effects. People are not knowing really what is causing. Museveni is the one who is causing us, bringing us problems. I've just heard Museveni talking a few minutes ago. I was busy blaming the opposition. And that wherever we have a crisis, there is that blame game. People, there is uncertainty in causes and the effects. Then we also have a differential perception. We don't know who is to blame. Every person is having a perspective. Then pressure is building up. Then outsiders take an accustomed interest. They want to see, why is Uganda really operating the way it is? What advantages are there that we can make use of? Then our reputation as a business tend to suffer if you do not come up to do something. Then during the economic crisis, there is urgent demands for information. So at least you must be in position to provide information. But wherever you hold information, we create problems. And then we tend to have routine businesses becoming extremely difficult, and people are no longer in position to do what they are doing.
Yeah.
So all of those are impacts of the financial crisis.
Now, Dr. Bala, I want us to dive into, there are people now trying to, I know there are so many investors here that are looking for answers.
Yes.
Now they want us to know how we can respond. How does the macro and the micro, because they want now the micro perspective, and at the same time they want the micro, and they want then the macro responses towards some of these financial crises.
Yes.
To take you back during the 2008-2009 financial crisis, we saw some of the government interventions right from the UK and the US, and I remember this crisis actually before it started. One of the people that I love so much is called Alan Rogers Muley. He was an aerospace engineer from Boeing company.
Yeah.
it was fished by Ford Motors. Ford Motors, by the way, was going into bankruptcy in 2005, which escalated it to 2008. And Mulay was, uh, before he came in, Ford Motors were too behind by close to 25 billion US dollars. And when he came to Ford Motors, he left in 2014 and he left this company with huge sums of money that he had gotten out. So thanks to that guy, he's now into retirement, but he's now close to 19 billion US dollars in his net worth. So Moley was one of those CEOs. He was fetched from Boeing in Ford Motors. You can just imagine someone who is an aerospace engineer,
Yeah.
and then you come into the motor industry,
Yeah.
and then you make a difference.
And that's not kind of new.
Mm.
There is even during the economic crisis of 1930s there, Japan had to outsource an engineer called William Deming.
Mm.
He's the one who introduced what we call the total quality management principle.
Yes.
And today, the quality which is from Japan, every item, every automobile which comes from Japan is of good quality because they manage to make use of engineers. So there is that kind of advice. If you want to create a good business person, you employ those people. They are good.
Okay.
They way how they perceive things.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was still saying that some of the bailouts that came from the UK and the US government just to revamp and revitalize the mortgage industry, whereby AIG and Lehman Brothers, actually they were going into bankruptcy. They had acquired some of these prime and subprime mortgages, reaching to the extent that, and actually some of the proponents of the financial crisis of 2008 and 2009, they blame it on the US government for not regulating the financial industry. This one is recurring. Actually, it is going to reoccur in 2021, 2022, close to 2025, simply because of the emergence of the CBDCs, the central bank cryptocurrency. So, simply because they are not regulated, and the cause of 2008, 2009 financial crisis was.
And as I told you, for us who are busy into how best we can earn, we are now thinking about cryptocurrencies because the cryptocurrency world is not having any regulation. The government cannot influence it because it's not the control of the internet. There is that anonymity. We don't know what is taking place. So it's always an advantage to the businessmen. And that's the way to go. For me, today I may be in position to transact businesses with people in Malaysia, in Singapore, Pakistan. I have friends whom I'm working on their research in most cases, but they pay me via PayPal. And then they sometimes they say, do you accept they even ask me, do you accept cryptocurrency? I remember having asked our IT expert. Then he brought me now to that you need a credit card. By that time, some of our banks are so hesitant. They don't want to get what? It was a few kind of months ago that I got one in Absa. And then now I can now transact my businesses online using that.
Okay, brother, thank you so much. Now, our dear viewers, our dear investors, right from, I'm saying, Noe Samske, Uganda, thanks a lot to Logical Motivators. My question is it advisable to invest in a commercial business in situations like of corona pandemic where there is high ranks of financial crisis? Chris Bridge is also watching. For what I see, a country like Uganda, it's favorable for investors, and almost sectors are still lacking. Now, what we're going to be doing right straight away, we're going to be looking at the three ways on how we can respond from a micro and a macro point of view, how we can respond to a financial crisis. As a businessman, you would wish to know how does the government respond to some of these financial crises, and at the same time, how can your business respond to some of these financial crises? I want us to look at three stages. I want us to look at relief or containment. Now we want to contain. I want us also to look at recovery versus stimulus, and then I want us also to look at reforms versus sustainability.
That is at the macro level.
That is at the macro level. Then at the business level, I want us, Dr. Bali, to take us through what might be done by some of these businesses to ensure that they cushion themselves against bankruptcy levels and going into oblivion.
Yeah. By the way, according to history, most of the financial crises that tend to occur, they tend to have a lifespan of over 10 years.
Yes.
And for us, by average, we are hoping that most of the side effects of coronavirus will have to last the next 5-6 years. The question is, what are you supposed to do? What should the government do to ensure that we are not exceeding those years? We revamp our businesses. Uganda shines. We go to the level of Japan, Malaysia, Singapore. Those countries were at one time at the same level of development. Yes.
Though it might not be as easy, you know, they always say that it is easily said than done.
Yeah.
So it might not
By
be
the way, if they fail to do it, we have a group of youth who are brimming with hope. I'm seeing them. Some of them are not far away from where we are and where we are looking. And I'm promising Uganda that they should have hope.
Yeah.
If things kind of fail to be arranged the way how they are, those youth are here. They are going to take up the changes, and Uganda will shine at one point in time.
Okay.
And that time it is coming, and soon.
Thank you so much for that hope, Dr. Bali. I believe in the relief in terms of macro. We're looking at countries and their governments. Countries can respond to some of this COVID-19 in terms of reliefs and containment. We can do what we call resource rationing, equitable distribution of scarce resources, e.g. food. We can have food distributed into equitably, actually. Not seeing Kampala Metropolitan receiving a big bunch, and then villagers, we take an assumption that they are well off. Yes, some of them, they are doing subsistence farming, but they are not in a position at this time to be putting food at their tables. Then we're also looking at lockdowns. Those ones we have had several. Then we are looking also at relief funds. You mentioned the Nabanja. She's been trying to organize herself and then send that little money of 100K. And we're also looking at also deficit spending. I wanted to dive into this more. Deficit spending, I normally hear the opposition leaders actually in Uganda here. They normally speak about budgets and Uganda having unsustainable debt spirals. Personally, as an economist, I think I differ in one or the other. I don't believe that an individual budget is the same as the country's budget. They differ in a way that the government owns the central bank. The central bank being the overall bank that overtakes, that supervises and regulates commercial banks. It is the issuer of our national currency. Our national currency not being backed up by the gold standard that was formerly removed by Nixon in 1971, we are now having what we are calling fiat money. Fiat money, that money that is being backed by each and every government that issue is without. So personally, I believe that a government budget is totally different from an individual budget. An individual budget is where you go out for credit and you're not allowed actually to spend over and above what you're earning. But a government can spend over and above what it taxes right from its people. This one is called deficit spending, or they could be running a deficit budget. So in some of the reliefs or in containing, we might as well use what we call deficit spending. And then from the recovery stimulus, recovery, we are looking now at this pandemic, the COVID-19, and we are now looking at the ways how we can recover from this that we have already entered into. We might as well look at stimulus funds. This one has not been a common system in Uganda. We have seen this happening in Canada, UK, and US. Actually, US, they were giving each small business $2,000. That was stimulus. We have seen UK giving £1,200, and then We have also seen government investments in domestic industries to cushion it against unnecessary competition from those international companies. Then we have as well seen bailouts from those companies that are going into bankruptcy. Then we can also consider tax cuts in terms of recovery, raising taxes for the rich and then corporate companies. And then we see tax cuts for the low or middle income earners. You know, when you offer a tax cut to the rich man, he ends up saving that little money that you're creating as a tax cut. But when you're creating a tax cut to the poor man, he ends up actually spending because his marginal propensity to consume
is always high.
Is always high.
And there are always chances that he'll have to pump this money into the economy.
Back into the economy. So, as economists, we are advising that the government of Uganda should adopt a strategy of creating tax cuts to the poor, such that they can spend more money to the economy.
And I'm sometimes worrying whether these people who are thinking for our government are really specialists in one way or the other. Today, we are having most of the transactions going online. We need communication to go ahead on internet. Our students or children are studying using ICT and the internet. It is extremely impossible for every government institution to thrive without internet. Then you put there the 12% tax on the internet, which other countries are merely just reducing.
Actually, Dr. Bali, what I am thinking here is Uganda needs us more than we need it. When it comes to some of these developing, actually, or placing policies that might help the economy to revamp and restart again, they need brains like us. I believe so. We need actually people who can sit down and rethink the direction for Uganda. So I was also considering to look at modern monetary theory. This one, it's MMT. It's a new. I don't know whether you've had time to look at it, but
I'm going to read
the modern monetary theory. Actually, for it says that the economy should spend more than its taxes.
So it's one of the modern theories of what?
That in order now for developing countries like Uganda, it should be able to spend more than it actually taxes. If it taxes 100 million, it should be able to spend 150 million.
We used to call that one pump priming policy. The government should pump in more money into the economy such that everyone is feeling it. And as it is spending, especially on public works and others, instead of spending its money on luxurious things and the other recurrent expenditures, you can imagine the member of parliament has just been given 200 million. And at the time when the Ugandans need a vaccine, I've just heard President Museveni there talking about the way how we would need to fund some of these budgets. But you could look at the member of parliament hoping. It would not be a bad policy. But what is preventing these people, let's say, to give them the money for the vehicles when they will cut it on their salaries, their allowances? Is there any problem related with it? With that? So the government has to look at different ways how it can do what? Spend more. And then as it is spending more, it can be in position to tax. It's like milking a cow which you have fed. But why are you kind of milking a cow you've not given anything to eat?
Yeah, so Dr. Bali, thank you so much. I'm also looking at, in terms of recovery, we can also have low interest rates, because it is the central bank that dictates it dictates how much some of these commercial banks are supposed to be taking in as loans, and the interest rates.
And when the interest rates are low, that means that every person can afford to go to the nearest microfinance, nearest bank, nearest circle, and he borrows some money. Then after borrowing that money, he will put it in his small business. A business will thrive.
Mm.
But now you look at the state where the government is having high interest rates,
Mm.
then it tends to justify that we want to reduce inflation. That is always the justification.
Mm.
But is it really worth it? The pain Ugandans are going through, and in fact, all of those are really trying to show that the government is favoring the rich only instead of favoring the poor.
I am seeing here someone is saying, Chris, what is the difference between the rich and the poor? Maybe to be a little bit precise, the difference between the rich and the poor is the rich, when he looks at a cow, he sees shoes, and the poor, when he looks at a cow, he sees meat. Maybe in a nutshell, that is the difference that I can give you. Whenever the rich person actually looks at the poor, I mean the cow, he sees shoes, then he sees bags. But the poor, whenever he looks at a cow,
Yeah.
he definitely sees a
That
fat,
just,
a
just
fat
meat
food to slaughter.
to eat.
So that is the only difference. But the poor and the rich are all created by God.
Yeah.
But they only differ in how they view and see the world.
And however, in the economic sense
Mm.
and economic point of view, in Uganda, a poor person in Ugandan context is a person who lives below $1. And $1 is around oscillating between 3,500 there sometimes. So any person who cannot eat, who cannot afford to get that amount of money, is literally regarded as poor. However, we have other people there who are falling into what we call the middle class. The middle class is any person who is having or spending at least 7,000 shillings per day, and oscillating between 7,000 shillings and 73,000 is the middle class. Anyone exceeding that amount is regarded as rich in Ugandan context.
Wow.
But we have people whom I've seen spending $1 million a day. Those ones are rich. Then anyone else spending something like 70,000 and 7,000, between 7,000 and 73,000, that one is in the middle class. And anyone who cannot afford $1, that is 3,000 what is regarded amongst the poor. Most of the time, we find those people walking on the road. Then we think that maybe they are mad. When actually they are not. They are okay, they are good people, but they've been torn apart by poverty. So,
but Dr. Bali, maybe to come
that is in the international level and the way how we analyze
conventional ways.
The conventional ways.
Maybe to come in a little bit. Personally, I believe that whenever I look at poor guys, or whenever I look at poor people, there are only two things that I see. They have not been in a position actually to look for those different ways on how they can be advantageous to the society.
Yeah.
Because whenever you play an important role into the society, in improving the livelihood of the society, you will definitely have the money.
Yeah.
So whenever you don't have it, the only way that you can find out whether you're needed in the society or not, just look at the past.
Yeah. And then you brought in something. In fact, I like, who is this person who has sent that question? Because I'm so much interested in that field. Being rich and being poor is relative and situation specific. At one point in time, when I found you, Chris, re-found, because there is a time when you found me when I was okay. Then I met you and I found a very successful entrepreneur and investor. I admired who you were. By that time, I was broke. I was broke, but not poor. Being poor is eternal. It goes into your heart.
No,
but being broke
poor is perpetual.
It's just temporary. There are many
Broke
of our people there who are there. Good, God-loving people. They are just broke people. They are having a temporary level of poverty. But 1, 2, 3 months or years, they are going to break off. They have a plan. They have a vision.
Mm.
So we cannot regard you as poor. You may just be broke, but not poor. Being poor is eternal. It goes into your soul. And then,
Pabera Namara, Pabera Namara, thank you so much for the support. And actually, she's among our dear partners right from the US.
Thank you.
She's saying, how can some of these principles be applied in relation to Uganda? How can these principles jumpstart or redirect businesses as it is right now? Some of actually the suggestions that we have had in the recovery, we have had the low interest rates and then the rent reliefs. Some of these businesses are right in downtown and across the country. We need to have a roundtable discussion with the tenants and at the same time the kid owners or the building owners. We need to have a discussion whereby, because in moments like this, you cannot be instructing a business owner actually to come out and pay fully. Now, this last month that we have been locked down, to pay it fully, because they have not been earning and they have not been working. But some of these guys actually, they have loans back into these banks. So we need to have a round table discussion. Have rent reliefs given to some of our businessmen and women, and then the government goes back into discussing some of these mortgages and some of these loans with some of these investment banks. So, Dr. Bara wanted you to take us through some of the steps that businesses can do to ensure that they deal with some of the recovery processes.
In fact, what I wanted also to reiterate to our new members of parliament who have just entered the August House, to know that one of the best ways to change the country is to make laws and acts. But they've over-concentrated on very foolish laws and policies, all acts, which are not benefiting Ugandans in any way. We want now to hear about the economic laws. In that time of 1933 and 1934, D. Roosevelt, whom you like very much, talked about the New Deal. But for these ones were properly set laws. He started what they called the National Recovery Act. And this was to recover the industry. The first Agricultural Adjustment Act to recover agriculture. Where did Uganda fall as far as investing and putting emphasis in funding agriculture? Because agribusiness is one of the best investments in Uganda. Then they established the Federal Emergency Relief Administration, where money was given to the people to kickstart businesses. Some of these people who were not employed were given funds for providing for employment benefits and clothing. Then the Civilian Conservation Corps, which gave outdoor work to the unemployed people. The people who were not employed were given work as long as they were aged between 17 and 29. We want to hear some of those laws, the acts being brought to Parliament when they are debating things which are really supporting human beings, but they are busy engaging in laws which are not applicable.
Maybe we can bring that into the fiscal policy.
Very true.
The reforms that are supposed to be employed by the government of Uganda to ensure that we can have a revamp, an economic revamp. And among those ones, I suggested that we should have a fiscal policy. Our government should increase on it should actually increase on its spending into the economy, and then maybe reduce some of the taxes that are being collected. I'm also suggesting that there is a need actually to regulate imports on specific items to caution against domestic industries. Now, like the rice industry or the food industry, whereby we are importing in milk, honey, and those other products.
So you are talking about the import substitution strategy.
The import substitution.
That we produce most of the things we use. So that means that we need to support some of the local investors and businesses, such that they start to produce those things we've been importing, such that we do not waste our valuable dollar.
But I am among those ones actually. I don't know whether the government of Uganda can use me for this specific cause.
Yeah.
But I'm also suggesting that we should have a little bit of money printing, which is to increase the money supply in the economy. This one is as a result of, if you look at the Ugandan population and demographic changes that we have had in the past 10 years, you would realize that Uganda has not had those many chances of where it is printing money. And if you compare the money supply that is in the community, in the economy, you will definitely find out that we need more of it, because productivity levels are going high, and at the same time money is scarce. So printing money only becomes to be disadvantageous to the economy, whereby it is not backed up by products and services. But Ugandan has been actually voted among those few entrepreneurial countries that we have had
in the world.
So if we could print maybe more cash, pump it back into the economy, we can have this economy revamped back. Though I am not saying that we should print what actually we cannot produce. We should only print what we are able to produce.
Chris, you should go slow when it comes to advising the government to print money, because this government of ours have been critically studying it. Wherever it has been tending and going closer to voting and election time, it has been printing money and pumping it.
Though you have no evidence.
Yeah, but we've been seeing new currencies. It keeps on dishing out new whatsoever. And that one may pose problems. There's during the 1930, 1920 economic depression, there are some countries like Germany, which overprinted money. People would carry a wheelbarrow of money to go to buy a bread and also to buy perhaps a matchbox. In one instance, which is so funny, Chris, happened when one woman entered a shop when she was pushing her wheelbarrow of money to go to buy bread. But incidentally, she left her money outside the shop when it was on the wheelbarrow. The thief just powered the money and took the wheelbarrow. That meant that that money at that time was useless. And we've seen that one in Zimbabwe. I hear that it is also in Sudan,
Argentina, Sudan,
where money is extremely...
It becomes useless.
Yeah, it loses value. So perhaps you should have devised the next government. When perhaps this one, which has been playing those things, just printing money anyhow.
No, maybe Dr. Barry, what we might be doing right now is try to this government has not yet reached the level of crossing the edge. It is still into play, and we can as well advise it, and then we find solutions to it. Then I'm also advising that the government should have subsidies, basically in agriculture, oil, housing, and healthcare subsidies. We have seen healthcare being taken advantage of, whereby some of these big hospitals actually, a COVID-19 patient is ending up paying close to 820, 300, 200 million. So there should be subsidies. Then there is also a priority production system.
Before you go away from the subsidy, our people need to know, the viewers and listeners on our podcast, they need to know that a subsidy is when the government comes in to meet some of the costs of production, such that the costs appear to be low. Those people who are engaging in trade, there are some kind of things the government should do for them, such that they don't need higher expenses, like in power supply and whatsoever, and that alone will support development.
What I think the Ugandan government, what it is lacking right now, I am not looking at the weaknesses of Ugandan government, but I am trying to bring out something that we can look at as a government. There is fear actually that is coming from the government back to us, that when actually these guys meet some of these costs, Ugandan government is going to go bankrupt, or the central bank or the treasury is going to be bankrupt.
Just fear.
Now, I want to sound a voice of hope to some of the economists that advising the president and those ones that are around the Governor Bank of Uganda, the government can never go bankrupt. If we were still backing our money with the gold standard, we would have that fear.
Yeah.
But using the modern monetary theory that depicts about deficit financing of the economy, a government can never go bankrupt. Because when it reaches that age of going into bankruptcy, it can print more money to put into banking to the economy. Now, the economists that are saying that if we run deficits and if we put in some of these subsidies, the economy, I mean the treasury, will be bankrupt. I think they are still advising the president. Yeah, so I wanted to come in also to priority production system. This one I'm copying it from some of those guys in the developed world. It's from the G7. Priority production system, it concentrates on, it aims at concentrating scarce resources on fewer strategically important sectors. Such sectors are expected to have positive spillover effects on the entire economy. Now, like priority production systems, you would basically concentrate some of these scarce resources onto those industries that you're sure when I put my money here, it will have a positive
multiplier
effect to go all over some of these other industries, where you find that healthcare will benefit, then the agriculture will benefit, but at the same time we have put it into trade. So that one was also among those ones. Then I looked at price controls, controlling inflationary tendencies, and then devaluing to boost exports, devaluing our currency. That one I have been seeing it with China. China has been doing it constantly, just to invite more people to buy into, to come and import from China, and then it improves on its exports. China has been using that strategy for the last, I think, 30 years. Because I don't think yuan should be devalued to the extent that it is right now. But China, I think, and its leadership, they're using it as a
price control,
to ensure that they improve the export.
And now here comes, maybe our nation need to come up with a philosophical orientation that is driving it, and that ideology need also to change, which they are having. Uganda overemphasizes, and especially the NRM government, is overemphasizing liberalization of the economy. When you bring those things of what they will say, that is not working in a liberalized economy. You are talking about price control, but a price control is not working in a liberalized economy. Of what use is us to have a liberalized economy when our people are suffering? I hope the government needs to revisit, because we've been talking about the other D. Roosevelt. D. Roosevelt, one time they criticized his New Deal, because the New Deal was even going ahead to become socialistic. It ended, the second New Deal was even talking about price control. And he told people that fear is the only thing we have to fear. And that thing of saying that we are in a liberalized economy, the economy will have to collapse. He changed, but he managed to revamp the economy. He led the economy through the economic crisis or the economic depression after the Second World War, and America became greater again to the extent that by that time there were only two superpowers, USA and USSR. And now, if China is using it and it's one of the world powers, what prevents an emerging country like ours to think that way? I hope our government needs to revisit, especially through the parliament, to revisit that policy of liberalization. There is over freedom where there are lack of control. The economy is on laissez-faire. We used to call it laissez-faire. Leave us alone. No government intervention. Let everyone do whatsoever he wants.
Capitalistic.
And wherever we have such an economy, the things are in a disarray.
Most people, modern economists actually call it the Rhodes Free economy, whereby the beasts pray, give us our daily bread, and then the antelopes say, deliver us from evil. So one is devouring the other, and this one is running away.
However, there is also an invisible hand
Mm,
which is properly manipulating it.
mm,
And the invisible hand, to many Ugandans, they know that that is the above.
mm.
When you ask anyone, do you know above? None of them know. So that is the invisible hand over
But
manipulating.
people always ask about the above, but
Eh,
who is the below?
By the way, it's even
Because the
a
below,
way of undermining people and
the below
others,
could as well be more important than the above.
which
Because,
is a fact.
because the below
Uh,
is swallowing people on a daily basis.
Uh.
We are seeing that no one is being put up.
They are always going
They are
down.
always going down. So,
However, if these people also who were down
mm,
or below, if they knew their power and they just had to rise up, the one above would fall.
right?
And however, they are just there looking on, doing plenty of nothing.
Yeah, so Dr. Bali, I wanted us also to discuss some of the effects of the economic crisis, especially the COVID-19. Some of these effects actually, to some extent, they have benefited our businesses, and to the other extent, they have put our businesses down. I wanted us to talk about the emergence of digital currencies, the CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, the bitcoins, the dogecoins, the blockchains. We have had a lot of questions about some of the emergences of some of these whatever. China in 2012, I think 2010, it almost went ahead to imprison whoever was talking about a CBC, a cryptocurrency. But now in 2013, it started legalizing. And in 2017, there was a launching of the CBDC in China, the central bank digital currency. And we have been seeing it actually coming on board. What I am very worried about some of these CBDCs that are actually coming in, you know, the printed money or the paper money came from China. Now, as an investor, as an economist, as a financier, we need to be critical because China has been leading some of these invasions for over 2,000 years. Now, you cannot undermine a country like China, which should have been among the G7s, but it is not. I don't know why. It is not. Because we are having Canada, we are having Germany, Italy, Canada, US, UK, France, and what else? There are 7. There is Germany, Italy, France, US, UK, and Canada. Now, those countries that make up the G7, they excluded China. I don't know why, but this is what I'm saying. If you see a country like China trying to make a CBDC legal tender, then any serious investor shouldn't sit on the sidelines and then wait for what is coming next. I think, my dear investors, right, those ones that are abroad, Fabella Inclusive. I have a friend, she's called Charlotte, she's in the US. She's a great proponent of Bitcoins. Dr. Barry, we need to look at Bitcoins as the next new form of payment. You cannot do away. I've always heard people say, by the way, maybe to give people more light about this, CBDCs are never going to be regulated. And I think, yes, and I think this is maybe where people need to have their doubts placed. Because how do I have a financial asset and it is uncontrollable? Or because we saw the 2008-2009 financial crisis coming into existence simply because those financial assets weren't regulated. And then we are having CBDCs, they have no regulator. Actually, they say they are decentralized. They do not have a single controller. For example, like the central bank.
In fact, they have multiple servers in different locations world over. And there is no way how you are controlling it. And that kind of decentralization makes it a little bit, brings a lot of anonymity. I may transact businesses with a Ricky without the government knowing. Yeah.
Yeah, I want also to believe that a CBDC if China goes ahead to
Accept
launch
it.
and make it a legal tender, other countries actually are going to follow suit.
Very true.
Because China is having an economic war between US and itself.
Yeah.
So you cannot afford to see your enemy. Some of these telecommunication companies, whenever one launches a data bundle, the other one also follows suit.
Very true.
Now, investors across the entire globe, they need to get a critical and they need to get a keen eye on some of the developments into a CBDC. We have seen, actually, there is one that amazes me so much, the Dogecoin. It was created, actually, it was out of, can I call it derogatory? Because the person who created it was like, whenever you create something that is so funny, people will just buy into it. Guess what? The world's second billionaire, Elon Musk, just recently injected 5 billion into Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Now,
Although we even blamed him for having he
mismanaged your money.
The money. We had kind of invested so much in Bitcoin.
Into Tesla.
And once we invested in Bitcoin, then he kind of promised that he would allow us to buy his vehicle, Tesla, the fastest car, using Bitcoin. And people had to go into it. But coincidentally, he ended up withdrawing that offer. And when he withdrew the offer, it ended up creating kind of people losing trust in Bitcoin and some of those areas. And in fact, one of the anonymous warned him. They told him that, please, you think that you are the smartest guy in the house, but you wait. You have found your levels. We shall teach you a lesson. So it's as though the anonymous group of those hackers, they want to teach him a lesson. Either he may lose some of that amount of money, the investment in one way or the other. However, there is another fear. Innovation is always not liked. When you go to any bank and you seek advice from any banker, you ask him, please, can you talk about Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency? They will demonize it. They show, because it's a serious competitor. When you go to the taxis, they are hating Uber. When you go to the hotels, they are hating Bien. Then when you go to the bookstores, they are hating Amazon. When you go to the cinema halls, they are hating Netflix. And these other Munowatch, which are emerging. When you go to oil companies, they are hating Tesla because of his vehicle. So the greatest question of which we should know, that these are people who are not even owning anything. Bitcoin, and those Bitcoin is the largest kind of bank. But where is its bank? It is nowhere.
I think
then
that guy called Kamamoto is claiming to have started it from Japan.
You see, then Uber, where are its cars? But people are just using this kind of communication, the modern way of transacting business. Then Amazon, where is its bookstore? Then Netflix, where is its kind of television setup? Tesla. So far, people tend to hate anything which is coming in as new. And therefore, we see, as you have been talking about the cryptocurrency, there is a lot of worry. People will hate it. But we advise people who can afford to invest in it.
Actually, my advice would be to any serious investor. Do not demonize. Do not stigmatize. Do not sideline. Just take a keen look and try to find out ways on how you can understand it better. Because this is encrypted data. It is created out of thin air. It is created as a result of those mathematical and logarithms from different computers, and then you're able to get just one Bitcoin.
And it is even scarce, because in the entire world, there will only be 21 billion Bitcoin to ever exist. Nothing will be exceeding that.
Not
People
over and
are
above.
people are supposed to just look for that, and they are exchanging it. However, our people need to know that the only they should know how to succeed in investing in cryptocurrency. One, what they should know is that they should only invest what they cannot afford to lose. Don't test the depth of the water with all of your legs.
We have been preaching about market timing and
Yeah.
diversifying our risks, our investment portfolio.
Very true.
That you should have your investments being actually plowed into different financial assets.
Portfolios.
Yes. You're into equities, all stocks and shares. Then you're into fixed incomes, treasuries and bonds. Then you're into cash.
Real estate.
You're into
having
real estate,
some small
commodities,
businesses.
alternatives, insurance policies. Then you're becoming a venture capitalist.
Yeah.
You're supposed to put money into your different things.
Yeah.
Though, I wanted also to go through some of the changes.
Before we go on that, let me handle this for once and for all. These people should also make their own investment decisions, not going by the clouds. Don't go to invest into cryptocurrency because you had a person X, maybe Tesla, saying that I'm now investing. Then don't blame others if you get problems. Many people are going to be there. They are going now to get there to sell their property. They don't know where to invest. They are not even knowing how. They've not come to Logicom Motivators to give them proper advice on how to invest in cryptocurrency. And then they are now going to go as experts. But once you enter into cryptocurrency deals, don't blame others. Then think long term and be patient. Ugandan, they always want quick money. And
which businesses do give very nice profit.
Then not your key. In cryptocurrency world, we say that not your key, not your coins. So that tendency of over-revealing your key to others, someone else knows your key, they will rob you. So you have to be smart enough, and as you are investing in a Bitcoin.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bali, for this wonderful session. Now, I wanted us to go through some of the challenges that have come through, but as well we are responding to them. We have seen influxes of new industries. Then we have seen the internet becoming the new world currency. We have seen also the artificial intelligence.
Please re-mention the internet being the new currency world.
Yes.
Because most of the things are now oscillating and running on internet.
Yeah, we are seeing Zoom classes, digital banking, and then all through we have seen internet becoming.
And anyone who is delinking himself from the internet, you don't really know what is going on.
Yeah.
Because now you can imagine we have free investment classes on internet right now. People, Logicom Motivators on our website, we have been dropping there an interplay of lessons on almost every investment opportunity. I've seen you on several occasions being on Sanyuka TV and several other televisions. And some of those are in our pool, which we used to call the Logicom Motivational Store, which is just a batch of those YouTube kind of videos. You visit there. You spend some small you visit our website. You enjoy all of those. So the internet is the new currency
for the world
today.
Yeah. So we have also seen drone deliveries. We have also seen cybersecurity. We have also seen renewable energies, solar and wind power. We have also seen what we call a globalized virtual economy or the sharing economy. We have also seen co-working, Iggy, the app called WeWork. We have also seen freelancing. We have also seen
about freelancing. A freelancer is someone who may be a specialist in his own particular work. But you may be, we call it subcontracting you. Someone may subcontract you to do a particular work at your home. And in this sense, our people should freelance. We call it freelancing their particular what?
Mm.
Their work. You can, for example, for me, I'm a researcher, but I've been supporting people in Malaysia, in Pakistan, whatsoever, just using PayPal to pay me. Eh? Even some of them I've never even met them and I've never seen them.
Mm.
So freelancing is another best way how we can earn. You may be working at your boss's office, but when you are at least providing another service somewhere.
Maybe, Doctor, we can use these remaining minutes to reply to some of. I loved your services, guys, but I have justified the most, and I was lectured in the emergency fund episode. Henry Ruyombia question: thanks, Chris and Benjamin, for the discussions. How can we ensure sustainability of such strategies of managing crises in post-COVID Uganda? Henry Ruyombia, Prince Edward Island, Atlanta, Canada. And then Moses Imbuga, Chris, just small advice, please stick on Uganda, not English. Most of your audience. Maybe this one I may answer straight away. Moses Imbuga, you may consider logging to some of these other channels like Woloxo Extra, where I do my Uganda shows. You could be helped there, and most of my audience would be helped from there. But going forward, the logical motivators is going to be using and targeting actually most of the Queen's speaking communities, such that you can also be helped. Because for the last 1.5 years, we have been actually trying to help out.
And on top of that, we even have other friends from different parts of Uganda. Apart from Uganda, we have clients in Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, the entire East Africa. And some of our best clients have been even in South Africa. And so in so doing, we would wish at least to have a language which everyone can at least understand.
Yeah, the last question was, how is the COVID-19 economic crisis shaping minds of people around the world, but more in our African countries? First of all, a lot has gone, as we are winding, a lot has been going on in terms of COVID-19 shaping our mindsets. We now know that actually we aren't as strong as we thought we are.
Yeah,
that is one. So we need to refocus and be mission oriented, because we thought actually we had so much, we had a lot into our emergency fund until when we saw the government actually going ahead to borrow, and us as individuals going ahead to borrow, and again, and at the same time borrowing for our businesses. At the same time, we have also seen our mindset shifting from depending on the day-to-day payments that are coming right from our employment opportunities and then from our businesses. Now we are refocusing and ensuring that we can create multiple sources of incomes. Now this question is very important in a sense that the African countries need to create more diverse communities whereby an individual can earn past over and above what they are currently earning. Looking and focusing at one job, it has now been done with.
Now you have to diversify.
You need to diversify and have your investment portfolio is in different financial asset classes. Our IT manager is telling us that time is up. I think Dr. Barry, you're going to be answering some of these questions. So where did it goes? Which time period is recommended for a starting business to scale into another business venture? I think he's trying to talk about market timing.
And for that, my brother, you need to know that there is always not the best. We do not always have what we call the best time, but the best time is always now. The only issue is that you should look at you should scan the economic environment, and you look at different ways how you can leverage your business. You can transform your business. There is what we call Katawowe. One, who are your customers? Then, who are your actors in the business? Then, apart from that, what is your kind of transformational view as you're making business? Then the other one is what is your world view? in your business, you can always be in position to come up with a robust arrangement that can transform your time, even if we are in the COVID. Most of those businesses we've talked about, they emerged during the time of
Yeah,
financial
actually,
crisis.
the US billionaires have added 1.3 trillion
Just within this particular
to
period.
their past during the COVID-19. The next question was what happens to shareholders when a company experiences financial crisis? Does it affect shareholders or does it affect the company shareholders?
Yeah.
Now, maybe in a minute I can answer that. I will give you an example of AIG and Lehman Brothers. These two investment, the other one was an insurance company and this one was an investment banker. Actually, Lehman Brothers has not yet been finally, it has not yet gone into insolvency in full swing. It is still sorting out the shareholders and the creditors.
Yeah.
So if you have invested in some of these institutions and yet it goes into insolvency, always the creditors are going to be taken care of before it goes fully into bankruptcy. So take note of this. Do not fear to invest your money in some of these
showing
companies.
that the liabilities are shared.
Yeah, the liabilities are shared,
shared amongst
the company and the shareholders. So, my dear brothers and sisters, those ones actually that are hailing from abroad, this was an amazing pleasure and an honor.
We are extremely blessed.
Honored and blessed to have you on our show. Yes, the beginning is always hard, and I have had the opportunity to watch some of the humble beginnings of companies like Amazon, like Microsoft. They started way back those days when actually they were operating from the garages, but they made it through the top. We believe in the African society what has been lacking is the fact that people do not know how to build businesses. Now here we are trying to offer the support and the financial knowledge that you might need for you to revamp, build, and transform and catapult your businesses into the promised land. Yeah, I was presiding over the session to do with financial crises, and my dear mentor, Dr. Bale Benjamino, is very soon transforming into a doctor. I don't know whether he has already been honored as a doctor, but he's transforming into an economist. Though I was suggesting that he runs for the MPU of Nyendo Masaka, where we're having the current leader of opposition, but he hasn't yet accepted my.
Obviously, that gentleman, the way how he's doing things, we are still respecting him.
Though he has been in parliament for the last 15 years, so we need to change. Change of
Yeah,
guard.
we would change, but we are always not just easily throwing away.
But
our
replacing him with you, we would be like doing away with the silver and then we replace it.
Why
with gold.
don't I think about some other area where the NRM is presenting its what and then
No. We need you, doctor, in the parliament. You need to think about it. So that was just a brief about politics. Though we are not there, we are economists, we are businessmen, we are investors, we are venture capitalists, we are consultants, and we are here for your services. I won't go without mentioning the fact that I want to thank my dear clients that are employing logical motivators across the entire globe, from US, from the Canada, from Sweden, from Switzerland, from wherever you are, guys. I respect you. It's an honor to work with you guys. I want also to make a shout out to those companies that have decided to employ Logical as a company, not Chris as an individual.
Yes,
that is also very important. Trusting Logical motivators will be like trusting your secret with God. You'll be sure that it's going to be kept forever because for him it doesn't change.
We know sometimes we do what we call institutional research, and we get to know more about your companies than you even know. Don't be scared that we may spill the bean in one point in time. We keep secrets. We are so professional as far as your businesses are concerned.
Yeah, so that brings us to the end of our session. Discussions providing the macro and micro perspective on economic recessions. I want to thank the team that was behind this session. Rickman, and
Rickman,
and
a
every other
shout
person,
out
and every
to
other
him.
person that was behind this show
Very
to make
true.
sure that it
By the
comes
way,
out.
thanks, Chris, for this entire arrangement.
Mm,
You perhaps these people have not come to realize that
mm,
before we come here,
mm,
we have a team of professionals who
mm,
are working on us.
mm,
We even have costume designers.
mm,
We even have the people who are just the psychologists who are around here,
mm.
the IT specialists around Soko Kabonge.
And then those people who work on us here,
Work on us.
because it is supposed to be a combination,
A
both the
combination.
mind, spirit, and the money.
Extremely.
It is supposed to be working like that. So I want to say a very good morning to those ones watching from the US. A very good afternoon to those ones working actually across the globe, and a very good evening and a good night to Ugandans from here, Kampala, Uganda. Bye bye. See you next time. It was a pleasure hosting you here. Chris Lule is my name. See you next time. Bye bye. Logical Motivators Uganda Limited. See you again. Bye bye.
Thank you.